Welcome to the Thrive TV Show with Lauren Parsons, helping you boost your health, energy, and productivity.
Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the Thrive TV Show. I'm Lauren Parsons, your host, and today I'm joined by Jane Atkinson, all the way from Canada, and we're speaking about the mindset keys to success. So welcome, Jane.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be here and so excited to talk to you and your audience from all of the places that they're from.
Yes, I know. It's years ago that Jane and I met through the Canadian Professional Speakers Association, I think in Ottawa. So it's really lovely to connect with you after all this time, and of course to talk about such an important topic. So we're going to dive deep into mindset and talk about how you can change your life by changing your thoughts, how to bounce back from failure, and how to stand tall and show up in your power. So before we get into that though, Jane, I have some this and that questions for you. So are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, so tell me, spots or stripes?
Spots.
Spots. Okay, cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Nice. Shorts or skirt?
Shorts.
Okay. Singing or dancing?
I sing all the time. Singing.
Okay, nice. A photograph or a painting?
Hard one. Photo, I think.
Okay. A smoothie or ice cream?
Every day. Smoothie.
Nice. And would you rather be able to speak 10 languages fluently or play 10 musical instruments beautifully?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think the languages.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Oh, nice to get to know you a little more. So Jane
Oh.
Atkinson is a best-selling author, coach, and the founder of the Wealthy Speaker School. Her system for success has been helping speakers catapult their businesses and their income for over 3 decades. Her best-selling book, The Wealthy Speaker 2.0, has become a rite of passage for anyone entering the speaking industry. And her latest book, Scaling Your Speaking Business, helps established speakers leverage their time, energy, and money for better results. So it's such a pleasure to have you on the show. I know that you have helped so many speakers with their mindset, which is so much of what they do as well. So tell me, Jane, why is mindset so important?
I used to think it was, a percentage of it, maybe 50%, maybe a little bit more than that. And after studying it for a couple of years now and seeing the work in action in our school, I believe, Lauren, now that it is 100%. I think that the keys to success in whatever industry you might be in are twofold. Key number one is belief, going all in 100% on your idea, whatever it may be, putting skin in the game and just being all in. Number one is belief. Number two is consistent action. And if you come at that consistent action from a place of power, a place of confidence, which means that your thought is one that is empowering you, like people need me now more than ever, then you will take action from a place that will gain you results. I believe now it's 100%.
And I can immediately see how this applies, whether you're an entrepreneur listening in, 100%,
Yes.
and also if you're in your career and you're thinking of what's the next step that you want to make, the next progression that you want to take. So, I can see your dog in the background. So
Yeah.
I know why you tick dog.
I told you.
So if you're listening to the podcast version, make sure you head to thrivetvshow.com because you get to see fur babies as well, which is a bonus. Okay, so tell me, mindset, and this is something that I fully agree on, and I speak on it a lot as well, that our thoughts shape our world. So I'd love to just hear it in your words. How is it that our thoughts really shape who we become?
Our thoughts shape our world. Well, so I subscribe to a thought model that has there's a circumstance, and then there's a thought, and then there's a feeling, then there's actions, and then there's results. And some people have heard of this in various formats before. Happens to be the Brooke Castillo's thought model that she subscribes to at the Life Coach School. And so I've become certified in this particular type of thought work. And it's true that you could simply swap out one thought for another. That's true. But that kind of is a little bit of a Band-Aid approach. Like, you really want to understand why a negative thought doesn't work for you. And that's where it comes into that, like, that feeling. If you're coming from a place of, you've just lost a piece of business and you just feel such despair over that, then the next action you take is coming from a place of despair. And I think that it's really important to recognize that, maybe sit in it, mull over it, really feel the feelings of that. Because if an entrepreneur, or anyone really in life, can be okay with feeling all the feelings, the good ones and the bad ones, then you become unstoppable. If you're okay, so let's say you're trying to build $1 million business. If you're going to fail along the way, right? You're going to try something, it's going to fail. If you can get right with being okay with that feeling of failure, which I'm so well versed in myself, just utter abject failure. If you can be okay with that and know that you can get through that and move towards what it is that you do want, then the sky is the limit for you. So it's kind of like getting right with the feelings before you swap out that thought for something that's more positive and more helpful.
And I think picking up on failure is so key. We've often heard that to be hugely successful, you need to make lots of mistakes, you need to fail along the way. And that's really easy to hear and to go, I'm going to remember that. But when it happens, it hurts, doesn't it? And I like the fact that you're relating to what happens in life and how that makes us feel, and our emotions are a huge part of that. So can I ask you, can you share an example perhaps, and to be cutting here, you alluded to the fact that you've had failures. So can you perhaps share a failure you've had and then how you reframe?
Oh yes. I remember as if it was yesterday, and I just wrote about it. So it's top of mind right now. So the very first time I launched the Wealthy Speaker School, we were going to do a webinar to launch the school. And I was imagining that all of the orders would ring in, cha-ching, 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 right after the webinar was finished. That's what my expectation was. And it was crickets. I mean, there was not one order from that. And after I picked myself up, we had been working for weeks and weeks and weeks to get all the back end, all the lessons in place, all the back end prepared. And I just thought that this webinar was going to be the launch, because that's what people said. You launch with a webinar. Well, it didn't work that way for me. We had to sell every one of those people into the Wealthy Speakers School, and we started to learn how to do it better and better and better and better. And since I've had many, many launches, many, many webinars, and it's never really changed for us. We still don't have it down to a science where the cha-chings roll in. So we just kind of know. But now when this happens and I have a webinar thinking, this is it, this is the webinar that's going to be all things. And then I still have crickets. I'm just like, okay, well, here we go. We know now that we need to do other things in order to augment the way that we do the webinar. So we learn, we grow, we fail our way towards success. And I will say that we went from 0 to 70 students in the school, and now our goal is to go to 170 students. So we're in another phase right now.
Mm-hmm. So tell me specifically around that, what did you do in terms of your mindset? And what do you recommend people do in terms of our mindset in those failure moments?
Well, I nestled up really nicely with that feeling. I was okay. And a lot of times we'll just do like a thought model on it. We'll kind of decompress the feelings and put them down on paper, and apologies, and we'll just really get okay with feeling the feelings. And having had it happen, I think it was probably seven years ago, the very first time that I failed. Like, I'm really good at it now. And I get over them really, really quickly.
Yeah. I think failure is so interesting. And I can recall last year I had a really big goal that I was striving towards, which was to pass what's a really challenging goal, as great goals are. And long story short, I failed, or as many people have said when I shared this very publicly, you haven't failed, Lauren, because you haven't given up, but you've hit a bump in the road. So I was aiming to achieve my accredited speaker designation with Toastmasters, which is where you're judged by a live panel audience. And anyhow, various things happened, and I did not meet their very high criteria, which was such a gift in so many ways. And I reflected on it in the time between doing the recording and hearing the result. And I'm really pleased I did, because it helped me to buffer my own response, because I realized that, well, if I pass this, that will be amazing and I'll be thrilled and I'll celebrate. But if I don't, this is going to give me such a great opportunity to learn and to grow and to try again next year. And I'll have a whole year to work towards it, and I'll get feedback. And ultimately, I will be a much, much, much better speaker if I fail now and have to work and get better. And so that's what's happened. And I'm, as we're recording this, I'm still waiting up until August 2022 when I will present again live.
Yes.
Which is exhilarating and scary. And
Yes.
hopefully succeed. But I think the thing that I came to terms with is whether you fail or succeed on any given day, it doesn't change who you are, and it doesn't change how capable and brilliant you are. You think of Simone Biles at the Olympics, most recently, pulling out of events and getting criticized. But whether she wins a gold or not, she's still this amazing athlete from one day to the next. So
yeah, and if she managed her thoughts about that, so if she managed her own mind, it wouldn't matter if the world was closing in on her, because she was right with her decision. So, I am an accomplished Olympic athlete. I have good days and I have bad days.
Yeah.
That's, and if you feel just like a sense of calm confidence from that, then you can proceed forward from a place that it really doesn't matter what people say.
Nice.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're always coming from a place of calm confidence.
Yeah. So imagine if somebody's, had their emotions go awry, let's say. I don't like to call them good and bad emotions, but had a strong emotion. Maybe you've come out of a meeting and someone offended you, or something didn't go well, or you were spoken down to, some sort of difficult situation. Tell me about this cuddling up to those challenging emotions. How did we do that?
So I'll give you an example. At the beginning of COVID, March 2020, I recognized that all of the speaking went away. Boom, poof. Everybody's calendar was cleared within 2 or 3 weeks. Boom. And I said to myself, oh my gosh, my industry just went away. Obviously, not a very helpful thought to have. And from that place of absolute fear and scarcity, I'm talking to my husband about selling the house, and I'm really starting to take some extreme measures because I am in massive fear. It took me several days to remember my own motto, which is I don't make decisions based on fear. I forgot. I forgot.
Yeah.
And what I thought that, so first of all, the feeling, I had to write it down and just write out all of the fear that I was feeling and all of the scarcity that I was moving towards. I just really allowed myself just to feel it all. And then I decided, okay, it's time to change my thought. What's my thought going to be? And I still have my Post-it, Lauren. You can see it here. It's people need me now more than ever.
Fantastic.
People need me now more than ever. Went on the Post-it and has stayed there for 2 years.
Mhm.
And I don't really need that thought anymore, but it comforts me somehow. And so I moved my feeling from fear and scarcity to this just like calm confidence. And I got out serving the people. So one of my good buddies, Chris West from Video Narrative said, hey Jane, let's do something fun. Like people really need us right now. Let's do some sort of boot camp. So we did the branding boot camp, and we did it over 4 weeks, and people really did need it, and we needed it as well. And so that was just, you sit in it for a minute, and you give yourself a period of time to wallow, and then you've got to decide to have a new thought. I mean, if I would have stayed there for 2 years, then I probably wouldn't be having this conversation with you right now because my business would be closed down.
Yeah, I love that. There's this saying that I love, that's what we resist will persist. And I think that's
Yes.
what you're talking about, that if we resist or just ignore the feelings or push them to the side because they feel uncomfortable, they just stay there. And so what you're talking about, something I learned many years ago when I was actually doing my life coaching course, was around how we need to acknowledge our feelings, and the more specific
Mhm.
we can be to be able to say, hey, I feel really disheartened right now, or I
Yes.
feel judged, or I feel inferior, or whatever it is, to actually label it
Yes.
rather than I feel blah. The more we label it.
Yes.
So I like that practical advice of writing out how you're feeling, acknowledge it.
Like
Then
pages and
choose to move
pages.
forward. Yeah, pages and pages of it. Can I
Yeah.
just share with you? I love that you shared your post-it note. This is my post-it
Ah,
note.
love it. Trust.
My word for the year, which is trust, which my daughter also wrote on yesterday in red pen. But that's
Beautiful.
so my word for the year is trust, because it is so easy when our mindset can just spin off into catastrophize and to think, oh, what if this happens? What if that happens?
So, okay, so what will your thought be? Where does trust take you? What's the thought that attaches to that?
So trust for me is it all will be well. Actually,
All
all will
will
be
be
well.
well.
Mhm.
And a lot of my clients really thrive on the thought it's just a matter of time.
Mhm.
And let me give you another one for those of you who maybe struggle a little bit and feel like you get caught up in confusion from time to time. The thought, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And knowing that you've figured out stuff before,
Mhm.
I'll figure it out. I'll get there. I'll figure it out is a very, very helpful thought that then leads you to a feeling of like almost like patience and confidence combined.
Mhm.
It's just,
Curiosity
yeah,
to then start figuring it out.
yeah. Because when we go to take all of our consistent actions in our business, we want to be coming from a good, solid place. We want to be coming from a feeling that is going to be helpful, not a feeling of, oh, geez, I need to make some money now. That's going to lead you to a feeling of like scarcity or fear. And that's going to have you taking all your actions from that place. And that is not necessarily the place that's going to get you the best results.
Mhm. Jane, you said you're going to talk about how to show up and stand tall in your power. So tell me, what do you mean by that?
Well, we talk a lot about showing up and standing tall in our fees. So, if you're an entrepreneur, whatever you charge, if you're a coach, what are your fees, whatever it might be. Showing up, knowing your value, and standing tall in your worth. And it could be if you have a job that when you sit down at your boss's office for your quarterly or annual review, being able to say, well, here's what I know I've accomplished, and this is why I feel I'm due for a raise, or this is why I've added value to this company, and that's why I'm a valuable team member here. That comes from a place of standing tall in your worth, standing tall in your value, and knowing what you bring to the table. A lot of people might work day to day in a company and never really even recognize themselves for what they bring to the table.
So,
And so
give me some practical ideas then for someone who's perhaps heading into their performance review or heading into a sales conversation. What do you do to build, what's the prep work to build
you
yourself up?
manage your thought. What is my thought? So rather than having an unintentional thought, we prepare and we get intentional with our thought. Management review, the thought might be, I bring value to this company and I'm prepared for this meeting. Boom. How does that make you feel? Calm confidence. Great. Off we go into our meeting. What was the second example you said?
Yeah, or if you're going into a sales meeting.
If you're going into a sales meeting, just be prepared. So you want to be prepared. You want to know all of the outcomes of the whatever it is that you're selling, all of the benefits of that. And then you have a thought that is conscious. Instead of the thought, oh, geez, I doubt they'll have the budget for this, which a lot of speakers can potentially have that thought. It's, here is my value. I'm very clear of it. I'm showing up. I'm so excited to present them with what I know.
Absolutely. I like that. One thing that I really love the work of Amy Cuddy and have looked into a lot around what we do physically and how that prepares us. So things like holding expansive postures, or power
Superman,
poses.
Superwoman stance. Yes. Breathing. So part of the reason why we forget what we wanted to say when we get into the high stakes situation is because we've forgotten to breathe, and breathing oxygenates the brain and keeps us sharp. So I have a little mantra as well. I have a thought going in, but if I'm going on stage, for instance, in a bigger setting than maybe I'm not used to, I make sure I do my 10 long, slow, deep breaths. But then I also have a little 3-part mantra, I'm sharp, be sharp, be kind, have fun, something like that. I'm really always aware of how I'm treating my audience, and I want to have fun with them, but I also want to be kind. And so those are just some things that I would remind myself of.
And I think those again are key things that we can think of when we head into a meeting or a Zoom meeting, or even just as we arrive at work in the morning. I always talk about set your positive intention for the day. How do I want to show up today? Do I want to be courageous? Do I want to be playful? Do I want to be confident? Do I want to be patient? Depending on what's coming in the day ahead.
Let's have fun today. Life does not need to be a grind. And so that we're all about, right now, we have a motto or a thing going on, which is all about simplify. Let's make everything easier. Easier on our students, easier on ourselves. We're just really in the throes of streamlining everything to make it easier. So I'll wake up in the morning and let's have today be easy and fun.
Nice. And I think there's power, isn't there, in speaking those words out. It sets in motion the thought patterns for the day, because we can't always control which thoughts pop into our mind, but we can choose which direction we take them to, can't we? Yeah.
Yes, we definitely can. And we can be very intentional. And you know what? Negative thoughts are going to creep in all day, every day. That's what I think it's just a matter of being aware of what's driving your day. Is it like the little gremlin on your shoulder driving the day and giving you all the negative thoughts and the negative self-talk? Or are you being kind of more intentional and nope, sorry, gremlin, you're out. I'm in charge of my thoughts today. Huge.
And what would you say to someone who's listening in who feels like, yeah, Jane, that's easy to say that, but for me, this gremlin, he's camped out here for so long, that
Mhm.
feel like he's monologuing. What would you say to someone, perhaps this is a new concept to take control of your thoughts? What are the first steps? Where do they start?
I think probably writing them down and then going back. So write it out pages and pages and then go back and just circle anything that keeps coming up for you over and over again. And then let's examine that. Like, where did that thought come from? Oh, I know, my mother, my father, my brother, some person who influenced you growing up. I'm pretty sure if I were to analyze my weight issues, I could say my grandmother. Remember those comments that she used to make to you, that there's something in there. So really, I think by writing down, we call them thought downloads, just write it all out. Like, what exactly is this gremlin saying to you? There is a book, by the way, called Taming Your Gremlins by Rick Carson that I'm thinking you could probably get on Amazon, because we're using his term of gremlins. I think it's just a matter of practicing catching yourself. So let's say you're just sitting in front of the TV and you're watching commercials, and all of a sudden you're like comparing yourself to the person in the commercial or something like that. You could even play a marble game with yourself, which every time you have a negative thought, you put a marble in the jar. That could be your thought jar. And like, there's a lot of little techniques that will allow yourself to see, because once you see how often you have negative thoughts, then you can, it's because we don't identify them or acknowledge it. I think that a lot of people just go year after year without solving the problem.
And it's like that whole acknowledgement being the first step, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I think one thing that's really important to remember is that so many of our thoughts are not true. That you can have thoughts that are going around in your mind, oh, I'm so stupid, I can't do this, this will never work, I'm a failure. And those aren't true. And so one thing that I often talk about is finding evidence to the contrary. So when you get a knockback, someone says no to you about something, to be able to go back and say that this person did it and got so much out of it, and this person said yes and they got so much out of it, and this person. So we need to sometimes have a bank of evidence around us.
I love that. And when you think about a lot of the negative thoughts, it's think about all of the things that you have done in your life. So, I'm never going to get this done. Well, wait a second. So I was told early in my life, maybe in my 20s or something like that, that I was always going to struggle with discipline. Like a psychic or numerologist or somebody told me this. And I embodied that. I was like, yeah, I'm always going to struggle with discipline. And then I remembered, hey, wait a second. I've written 6 books. I actually don't struggle with discipline. I've been writing down what I was going to eat the next day in 24 hours. I've been doing that for 3 years in a row. I'm on that silly treadmill 4 times a week, every week for a long, long time now. I had to just show myself, hey, wait a second, that's not actually true. But it took years. I bought into it for years and years and years. And then all of a sudden I said, hey, wait a second, that's actually not true. So you're right. Recognizing some opposition, I think, is really good.
Yeah, to help you move forward. So wonderful talking to you, Jane. We could talk about this all day. And I think I love what you said with that, mindset is so key, and 100% affects everything that we do. So if people wanted to find out more about you or get in touch with you, what's the best place to do that?
Come on over. We've got blogs aplenty. We've got a podcast, all kinds of free stuff at speakerlauncher.com. And if you have any aspirations to become a professional speaker, make sure you tap into the podcast and the blog and all the things that we have there for you.
Yeah. And I do have to say, I subscribe to a lot of amazing writers and bloggers and podcasters, and yours, Jane, is one that always goes into my read folder, and just amazing content, and love your book. So thank you for all the work that you do. So as we wrap up, if there's one final thing that you could share with our listeners today, what would it be?
I just think don't forget that the two keys to success are number one, 100% being all in and believing that what you want is possible. And number two, taking consistent action. I like that so much. This is an Oprah mug and it says, live your best life every day. But I'm going to have a mug made with my two things on it. I believe in it so hard.
Yeah, that's good.
Belief, consistent action. That's it. If you've got those two things, there's nothing you cannot do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely agree with you on that. So thank you so much, Jane. So nice to speak with you.
My pleasure.
Thanks so much for tuning in. That's been another episode of the Thrive TV show. Go out and thrive.
Thank you for listening to the Thrive TV show with Lauren Parsons. Visit thrivetvshow.com to access the show notes and discover our fantastic bonus content. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next inspiring episode.